Welcome everybody to the webinar series, Have Greater Client Impact Today, hosted by the Ridge Project. My name is Brandon and I will be your MC. So today's presenters are Drs. Sherrod and Phyllis Miller, who are co-developers of the Couple Communication Program, and Ron and Catherine T. Arena, who are co-founders and co-executive directors of the Ridge Project. So today's webinar's purpose is to showcase an effective healthy marriage and fatherhood program model. So we're going to do a recap of our last webinar just in case some of you guys missed it, and then we're going to dive right into couple communication where Dr. Sherrod and Phyllis will talk about how the program was developed, a brief history, and then how it's administered. And then we're going to dive into how Tyro has used couples communication and how it's been effective in the Tyro suite. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So the Ridge Project recap is a Christian nonprofit organization founded in 2000, serves both youth and adults, and administers several unique programs, including Tyro Dads, Couples Communication, Tyro Job Ethics Training, which is Tyro Jet, and then for the youth we use Tyro ROP, which is Tyro Rites of Passage. And so we talked about Tyro last week at the webinar and really how utilizing the platform, utilizing technology is just revolutionizing the way that social services is served. And so what we've recognized here at the Ridge Project is the gap in between class times and even the gap between the program and the facilitators / case managers, and then the gap between the case managers and the Tyro, the clients. And so for the program and the Tyro Dads, in between the face-to-face time, we are providing resources through the Tyro platform. We're providing extended curriculum, and then also a community to where they can share insights with one another or encourage each other, and then all of that's being tracked, and we're capturing the data and the analytics and the feedback. And so the feedback really helps us to continue to improve our platform and to make it the best for our clients. And then another thing that we noticed was with our facilitators and our case managers is that we wanted them to be able to have somewhere to go so they can grow, because they're giving so much, and so we wanted to pour into them as they pour into others. And then also we wanted to help them better understand how they're teaching with the classes and help us understand how they're teaching the classes. So we have assessments coming back to the main corporation, and then also assessments going to the facilitator so they can gauge how well they're doing. And then the facilitator can also push action steps to the Tyro Dad and also encourage them as they're moving along the curriculum. And so we really built a digital infrastructure that allows us to fill our gaps in communication and effectively extending our current programs and help us to maintain and improve client outcomes as we scale. And one of the ways that we do it is here you can see with our Tyro dashboard on our Tyro platform. So this actually shows a user's profile, but this is also what the organization would see and what the facilitator or case manager would see. And so on the right you see it's got a to-do list, and so the end user can track their progress and see their goals and see what they need to start knocking down so they can get in better communication with their family. They can write a letter to their kids or call home, and then for later they can be like, you know, I can't do this today, I got to chunk out what I need to get done, and so they can set up reminders for later so it would ping them or send them a notification in a couple days. And so they can also see their progress as they go through the Tyro Dad's digital curriculum. And so here, if they are waiting in a waiting room or something and they have 2 minutes, they would be able to quickly get on the platform and go through a couple lessons and then jump out, and then they would be able to easily access where they were in that particular workshop. So there they would be able to resume workshop 2. And so they'll also see their badges, so see what they've accomplished and be able to be encouraged by that. And then all of this information is being sent to the facilitator as well, so that way they can track how well their clients are doing and provide assistance if needed. And so what's really cool about this too is it's able to gauge on how well they're communicating with their families. And so once we teach them the couple communication skills that you're going to learn here in a second, we can see if it's getting improved, or if we can do a refresher or kind of step in and say, you know, are you using your mats that you've learned how to use from the couples communication course? And so Dr. Sherrod and Phyllis did an excellent job creating the couple communication course. So Doctors Sherrod and Phyllis Miller, Dr. Sherrod is the Chief Executive Officer of ICP. He heads instructor training plus materials and program development. He also conducts training in interpersonal communication and team building for corporations and other organizations. Dr. Phyllis is the president of ICP. She manages certification of instructors, continuing education, in the editorial process, as well as conducts training. Their programs are used by Healthy Marriage grantees, Responsible Fatherhood grantees, the U.S. Army, colleges, and by agencies and counselors around the country. Welcome, Drs. Sherrod and Phyllis.
Thank you. We're glad to be with you today.
Yes, and it's also great to be a part of the Tyro suite. So we want to walk an overview of our programs, both couple communication for couples and core for individuals. And our company really, from the beginning, has focused on helping people communicate more skillfully in order to connect with each other intimately and productively across time. The other thing is helping them make better decisions and be able to resolve conflicts and do so collaboratively. When this happens, the research really shows that it builds satisfactory relationships, that people are more comfortable with each other, there's less arguing and miscommunication, and they're really able to kind of pull together as a team across time. On the right here, you see a picture of the couple communication materials. Each couple gets what we call a couple packet, which includes the two workbooks, one for each partner, and then a set of the large skill mats, which we'll say more about in a few minutes, and then a set of pocket cards, which really are little reminders of the maps and skills that frame the program. And then these pads down here are really tools to help people reflect and when they have something of importance to share with their partner or with somebody else, helps them get their message together to be more effective in doing so. So a little background on couple communication. Many years ago at the University of Minnesota, with colleagues there, we got interested in relationship education. At the time, when a couple was in trouble, or there were some, or they just wanted to grow, in a sense, what happened is they would have to go to a therapist and, in a sense, work on repairing their relationship. But there was really nothing out there about equipping couples to be effective as they move from being single and engaged very often into becoming a partnership in marriage. So anyway, that was our focus, is how could we equip couples and go beyond repairing. And it was an exciting time, and really still is in many ways. Since then, over 700,000 couples have gone through the program, mainly in the United States, but the program's really been taught on all the continents around the world. And people have come to us wanting to bring it to their particular country. We've not tried to promote it as such. Across time, there are more than 75 research studies on the program that really have established its effectiveness or efficacy, if you will. And the more rigorous the study and the design, really the better the results, the outcome has been from that. We've received a number of rewards from national organizations, as you can see listed here, for the work over the years. Now, what's unique about our program is that we mainly focus on process and the process of communication, not on content topics per se. For instance, a lot of programs focus more on content, finance, or how to relate to in-laws, or sexuality, and so forth. From the beginning, we have tried to create a system, if you will, of maps, conceptual maps of specific talking and listening skills, and then built on these interrelated maps and skills, a set of processes for being able to make decisions, resolve conflict, and team together more effectively. So you see on the right here this photo, two of the what we call floor mats, and again each couple gets their own set of mats that they use during the class, and then they're able to take them home and retain them for their own skill practice, and not only practice, but to what we call map issues and talk through important decisions on their own time and in their own place.
These are really tools that help couples, and as you can see the point there, that they're both for the couples to learn the skills and also to be coached by a coach in improving their skill use. So it's a tool that we use both in the class and can be used afterwards too.
One of the fun things about the coaching is it's not only just by the instructors, but by couples as well. And so this picture would have another couple standing on either side of the mats who are listening to the couple process their issue, and then also coaching the skills, coaching the process, not the content or the outcome. Anyway, the program itself takes advantage of different learning modes. Some people are more kinesthetic, and being able to move around on the mats really it creates an active engagement. Other people are more visual. Our maps and mats provide that as well. Of course, the auditory as they talk. And then there's books to read and hand tools to fill out, like the pad for reflection. And so the system has a number of parts to reinforce and extend skill use and to impact people's daily lives. That's really the bottom line. The other unique feature here is that we don't do role plays or case studies. We do, I guess, what I'd call real plays, where couples bring their own real issues to the class. We give them a chance to huddle up and decide what they want to talk about, so nobody's being pressured to talk about something inappropriately or without their mutual consent. But they bring their real issues to and practice the skills and the process around something that they have real investment and energy for. In terms of general uses of the program, it's been initially, we started out and continues to be used for premarital education and preparation. Certainly in continued at any stage of marriage, we've found the skills help people continue to learn and grow. There's no ceiling really on this kind of learning, and over time it can even get better, but you don't someday finally arrive. Phyllis and I are still practicing and learning as well. The other thing is we really tried to move upstream. Downstream people are divorcing in a sense, and so moving upstream is how to equip and prevent trouble from setting in and from couples from becoming disenfranchised with each other and moving apart in a divorce, which is costly to everybody and hard on kids and extended family and etc. Research really shows that two people who have a stable relationship live longer, they are more healthy both physically and emotionally, their children do better, and over a lifetime they typically earn more money and are successful economically as well. So this work that we're doing, that we're all involved in, trying to help people live together, stay together across time is very important at a lot of levels and has strong evidence behind it as well. Communication 1, here's a quick little outline of what we cover. First of all, we introduce couples to the concept or definition of a collaborative marriage. I would venture to say most people do not have much of a model in their head of what a healthy marriage is. Some research shows that the model we bring to our own relationship is the one we saw growing up. And if that's not a very strong or a damaged relationship, it certainly plays into some of the troubles that couples can experience. So we're trying to raise the bar here. Collaboration is the highest level of interaction between two consenting adults, and so we define that, and then we talk about the ingredients that go into a healthy relationship. We'll point those out here in just a moment a little more clearly. And then the main process focus is on helping couples distinguish and choose effective communication styles, use the awareness wheel as a tool to understand themselves and their partner better, apply listening skills to listen for understanding and really comprehension, and then putting these, particularly the wheel and the listening cycle together, as you saw in the picture earlier, what we call mapping an issue. And we have a 9-step process that really guides couples through taking a complicated situation and helping them mutually develop a best fit solution. Here's our definition of a collaborative marriage: a strong man and a strong woman. The problem with two strong people is they can be like cats going their own way. So not only two strong individuals, but two people who can bridge to each other, which is really important, and committed, and the word commitment is critical here, to building a mutually satisfying and fulfilling relationship across a lifetime together. This is a model, sociologists would call it an ideal type, that most people in the world, particularly in the Western world, as the world gets flatter, this is what they aspire to: some ongoing, intimate friendship, companionship that's successful in its own way. So here are the 7 ingredients. Let me just briefly define them. Committing to partnership. Without a commitment, the relationship wobbles. There's not a strong foundation, and there's a level of anxiety that permeates the relationship. So we really advocate strong commitment and the boundaries that creates for partners to trust each other and be able to predict their futures together. Caring, Phyllis is going to talk more about this in just a minute, but actively caring for themselves, their partner, and their relationship. Now, this point is really a bridge that to the Tyro process, where caring and attitude is so strongly in character development emphasized in the Tyro program, and so this extends it and reinforces somewhat. Considering life's concerns and opportunities, this is being able to recognize and face the opportunities and challenges that we face in life as issues. And every couple has issues, and it's really what brings a lot of energy and life to our relationship when they are handled well. Communicating, but not just communicating, but communicating with skill, with the purpose of connecting. And we have the skill set that we teach around that. Then I'd like to use the word collaborating, but you can't use collaborate to teach or to define collaboration. So cooperating to resolve issues and the effectiveness around that whole process. Then celebrating life together as a couple. That ranges all the way from just fun times together and good conversation, interesting exchanges that way, to the intimacies of sexuality. The last thing here is contributing to life around us, going just beyond the strengths and benefits of our own relationship to extending to people in our community. Now, this includes raising kids in our own family, but as a partnership, is there something we can team and have a common purpose or mission that brings life to other people as well? So these are the items. They're really drawn from a lot of research, a review of the literature, and practical experience in educational and clinical situations over the years. Now, in couple communication, we really focus primarily on items 2 through 5. And what we're trying to do is create, within a couple's relationship, an ongoing collaborative operating system, collaborative human operating system.
Okay, as Sharad mentioned, one of the parts of the 7 dimensions is caring for self and the partner and us as a relationship. Actually, much of what we do in couple communication has to do with our behavior. But one of the things we like to emphasize, besides the behavior, what we say and what we do in communication, is the attitude behind it. And the attitude of caring or uncaring. And here's how we define this. By caring, I am thinking about how I value, I respect, I take into account myself or my partner in a conversation or in a longer term kind of pattern together. And this slide that you're seeing shows the uncaring and the arrows pointing down. And if I'm uncaring toward myself, I'm disrespecting myself. I'm not valuing, I'm not taking into account my own self, either in a short conversation or in a longer term kind of time together as a couple. And you can see that there are different views of this where I'm uncaring toward myself and my partner, or the second slide over to the right is being uncaring toward myself, only taking my partner into account, what he does, and then the slide below on the left is it's my way or the highway type of attitude, or and not caring about my partner. And what we're aiming for in couple communication, and we're trying to emphasize behind our communication, is that I both take myself into account and take my partner into account in a short conversation or a longer term situation. And this slide shows what happens when we have communication behavior that is skilled or unskilled, and the attitude of caring or uncaring combined. So if our communication behavior is unskilled and our attitude is of uncaring, some form of abuse will result. It could be simply verbal abuse, if you will, if you call that simple, on to emotional abuse, or even in some cases to physical abuse. However, if we teach communication skill and we don't attend to the attitude, what can happen is we can become a more sophisticated manipulator. And there have been programs that work with this kind of approach, how I can get what I want or need in a situation. So we think the attitude is important here to include. Now, if we look on the left down below where we have the lack of skill but a caring attitude, you can see the result we have here is misunderstanding. And for centuries, I'm sure there have been caring relationships that have gone on without having the skill there. But in today's world of complicated situations, of so much mobility, of so many kinds of things, that life just goes fast and the pace is quick, we think that that is not a good option either. So what we're aiming for is the attitude of being caring, with including that with skilled communication. And these are what we emphasize in couple communication.
Most couples don't have much of a map or an understanding of different ways people talk and listen to each other. So one of the things we early on start out with here is what we call a map of styles of communication. And let me just briefly mention them and then elaborate a little more here. Small talk and shop talk, we give this a green color, as relaxing, nurturing, and this is so important in a relationship. Small does not mean unimportant, but what happens, we find that couples over time get so involved in sometimes with pressures of life, or they get into their own conflicts and so forth, and this kind of goes away. It really drops off. Shop talk is more managing things, greasing the wheels, keeping things scheduled, etc. We go into the red zone here. Control talk is very efficient. As a parent saying to a kid, clear the table, feed the pets, do your homework. Couples give each other direction a lot. But if this is all they do with each other, or all you do with your children, after a while it's fatiguing, and you really don't want to be around it. And if people disagree, they tend to drop below the line here into what we call a fight talk, which is very often just argument, although it can get very mean and aggressive, and physically as well as emotionally abusive, where people blame and attack each other. If people watch, I think it's Jerry on TV, and that's their relationship education at home, what they're seeing is fight and spite. And it's entertaining at one level to watch if you're not a part of it, but it's a hell to live in if you're caught in a relationship that this is mainly the way you talk and listen to each other. Spite, whereas fight talk is in your face and aggressive, spite talk is passive aggressive. It's rolling the eyes, the sigh, the cynical, contemptuous remarks, things like that. Very toxic. And if this is what happens in relationships, when this is the way people spend their time together, the relationship is really in serious trouble. And if this is all they saw growing up, how do you transcend it? So the real function of fight and spite, I think, it signals unresolved issues. People are trying to make change, trying to usually shape the other person up. They're not looking at their own contribution and response, and they stay stuck. So there are some relationships that they have fun together a little bit, and then they just argue and fight. What we're adding and really trying to show here is the blue zone, search talk, open sky, being able to generate possibilities. And a lot of questions go in here, but it's not attacking and defending, it's approaching an issue or a conversation of importance. And then the last here is what we call aware talk, and that's really where I put my experience on the table. I disclose, I tune into my partner, hear her interests, her concerns, and so forth. And in doing so, it becomes a foundation for collaborative conversation. Now, this map is really built on neuroscience and what we know about the brain and communication. And when people are in the midbrain, the amygdala is running the show in a sense and hijacked their emotions. They're in fight and spite and typically unable to reflect and think and use aware talk and so forth. Most people want to move towards aware talk away from the red zone, and so in doing so it really involves self-regulation, learning to manage your own emotional response. And they ask, well, now how do you do that? And so this brings up the next tool we teach. Remember, we teach maps, skills, and processes. And so we give the people trying a conceptual understanding of what's going on. So this awareness wheel really comes out of years of research at the University of Minnesota. We listened to hundreds of conversations between couples. And what is it they're really talking about? Well, first of all, this is a map of someone's experience around any issue or situation. You can see it's in a circle, and by that we really indicate that it's nonlinear. You can start anywhere, go anywhere. Sometimes people are first aware of their thoughts or their wants or whatever. But anyway, is just briefly defining this. Sensory data is what I observe, hear, see, taste, touch, smell. My thinking is the meaning I make out of the data I experience, what I see and hear. Emotions are my feelings, what arouses in my body in relation to the difference between what I experience and what I expect. And if I expect something to be a good experience, and it is, my emotions tend to be positive. If, on the other hand, what I expect is to be positive, but the experience, the data don't match, I'll be disappointed, frustrated, angry. So that emotions really reflect what's going on in other parts of the wheel. The zone of wants here, we spend a lot of time working on. It is a powerful, everybody wants something, and in any conflict, any negotiation, any change situation, there are forces, wants, sometimes hidden agenda at work. And so here we also bridge here, not only do I look at the wants for myself, but what do I want for my partner based on what I've heard my partner say he or she wants, what their interests are. So a want for others is based on others' interests. This is transformational and a really important piece. So many people in the culture we live in, we only think of ourselves, and when we think of others, we think about what we want from them, not for them. And so if people can capture this and build it into their relationship, they start to behave and live more collaboratively. Actions are my behavior, what I've done in the past, what I'm currently doing, what I will do in the future. And this piece is really my own accountability and responsibility. So in teaching those things, we also have tools then for people to reflect on their own issues. And the 6 talking skills also relate if you will. There's a skill to each one of these zones, along with speaking for self, which we tend to put it at the beginning here, or at the center rather. But this is the talking side, and the other side of the equation is the listening side. So here are 5 listening skills, and notice you can use them in different combinations, but attending is simply observing, drinking in the data, not rehearsing what you're going to say next. An acknowledgement is a brief validation of what the other person's saying as the other person's experience, not necessarily mine. Invitations keep people talking, telling their story rather than my jumping in and starting to talk or ask questions. I keep them telling their story and following. So these are following skills, 1 through 4. A summary occasionally to be sure that I've heard and accurately affirming the other person's experience, and they affirm my accuracy. We call these attentive listening skills, and they're skills for creating understanding, listening for understanding. Most people listen for agreement or disagreement, and that kind of binary listening really boxes you in and very readily fires up the midbrain, the emotional brain in conflict. But when you can transcend and hear the other person's experience as a basis for building agreements, that's what we try and teach here. Asking question, notice the dotted line. Questions are useful, but they can interfere sometimes, or questions come from my agenda. They're not following skills, they're leading skills. So we put those together. People learn the skill sets, practice them, and then they map issues, as you saw, particularly using the mats. The reason we use the mats, they're training tools. We're really trying to integrate the skills into their personality and into their lives. But the mats and the coaching really accelerate the learning. Now, just to wrap up kind of what we're trying to do, we said we really focus on process, and people supply the content, what they experience, and process is there to help the content be rich and clear. But if the process is down in the red zone, it tends to stifle, interfere with rich content. The other side over here, we're working for solutions to resolve issues, not just to stay stuck. And the process either enhances or facilitates best fit solutions, or it prevents and gets in the way. And so there's a level of satisfaction emotionally with both the outcome and process. And so here again goes back to the attitude of counting self, the other, and us as we work through and come up with solutions. So the outcomes, people are more effective in their communication, they make better decisions, less conflict to start with, and when they do get caught in an argument or something, they have some choices to be able to resolve the conflict more effectively. And as the research shows and practical experience, satisfaction increases among within the relationship when skills and attitudes are changed. We also have a second program called Couple Communication 2, clearly builds on Couple Communication 1, and we start out by talking about the skill zone. Now the skill zone, really, if you think about the mats, they create a skill zone. When people, and just shifting for a minute about the neuroscience here, if you think of yourself, when you get aggressive, what's built into our midbrain is the urge to fight or flight. It's the sympathetic nervous system takes over. It's lucky we have it. If we didn't, many of us would be dead. We would have been hurt in some situation, couldn't respond fast enough. But when an issue arises, most people want to step out of the zone and get aggressive, start to force and fight. Or the flip side is they move back out of the zone and freeze, avoid the issues, change the subject, or flee from the situation. So what we're really trying to do is create between fight and flight, which comes as standard equipment in our brain, a zone that we call the skill zone, where you can self-regulate, manage yourself, use skills to connect with your partner or others effectively, and make change, make better decision, resolve conflict. So we also focus on managing my own anger in couple communication too, and responding effectively to my partner's anger. And then the last thing we focus on is stepping through a process that really takes us around the wheel to align our relationship, our values, our wants, and how to fulfill those collaboratively. Outcomes for two, again, the skills help bridge to one another. Anger, which is such a big issue for so many people and comes so easily when we're frustrated and annoyed and our wants are blocked or other things happen. So we learn to manage that more effectively. When that occurs, intimacy grows, becomes deeper, richer, and our commitment and confidence of our future together really can expand. Besides the couples part, we also have core for individuals. It's very, it builds on the same system of styles, the wheel, the listening, and really mapping issues, but it doesn't require a partner. So for individuals who are not in a relationship, we recommend this program. It builds on expanding awareness, my own contribution, response to situations, styles I use, so forth, how I communicate. It teaches ways, not only the listening skills, but some principles working off of reading nonverbals and leading and following to really connect with others more effectively, in addition to the listening skills that really they interrelate. Also, the processes of negotiating and facilitating change really grow out of this system as well. And what we hear from this program really fits for adults who already have life experience, and they've kind of bumped up to difficulties along the way, gotten bruised and so forth. So when they have opportunity to learn skills, not only their personal lives and their family, how they relate to their kids and their parenting, but it also impacts their work and other aspects of their life as well. So those are the programs for couples and for individuals that are available.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much, Dr. Sherrod and Dr. Phyllis. Really great information. So now we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Ron and Catherine Tiarina, talking about how couple communication is paired with Tyro to make the Tyro Suite even more sweeter. So go ahead, Ron and Kathy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. It's always great to hear Dr. Sherrod and Phyllis talk about couple communication and core communication. We have just really thoroughly enjoyed watching the transformation that happens in couples as we get the opportunity to teach it.
You know, what really has helped us in delivering this model to the people that we serve is really getting them to understand that in order to be successful, you need to have commitment and focus. And couple communication paired with Tyro Dads has really not only been impactful, but has been able to really change the way people think. And the Tyro approach, we have, of course, Tyro Dads, and we deliver that, and then we have couple communication.
Right. And so Tyro Dads, just to kind of back up a little bit, Tyro Dads is really fatherhood, really focused on developing strong men, strong fathers, strong leaders in their home and their communities. And then we follow up with the couple communication that really brings that healthy marriage component. In Tyro Dads, we see tremendous outcomes in healthy marriage and commitment to family, because it really helps, especially people, it's like trauma-informed care. It really helps people that have experienced trauma to overcome that trauma and set a new legacy for their lives. But then couple communication really gives them specific skills to enhance their marriage relationships. And it doesn't matter what area, whether they are in prison, recently released from prison, or in poverty, couple communication works really well, or in churches, or in communities, or leaders. It's a very versatile curriculum. That's why we chose it.
And then we have Tyro Job Ethics Training, which we call Tyro Jet here, and it really helps fathers or men that we get to work with and families to understand what's the purpose of work. Why would anybody have a problem going to work? And we find that most of the companies that we work with, they tell us basically the same thing. We need to get somebody. Can you get us somebody that will show up more than 3 days a week and pass this drug test? And so really, working with character, we find that a lot of men have a lot of skill, but their skills outpace their character. And what Tyro Jet does, it helps puts their character above their skill.
Right. So Tyro really focuses in on character development, and really helps the dads, the fathers, really understand the importance of living for others, especially for their children and for their spouse. So it moves them away from an idea of selfishness. And finally, Tyro teaches them how to break the cycles of entitlement, and that could be poverty, or it could be incarceration, or it could just be a really selfish viewpoint on life that's keeping them from building healthy relationships.
And what we're going to show you is how all three of these components, these three curriculums, combined together really attack the culture. We attack the culture of entitlement, and which is phenomenal. So character development, a man of their word. It really, to become a Tyro, a man who's incarcerated, they really come to a place of understanding that the only thing that they have in this environment is their word. And taking those principles that we teach inside the institution, or now working with men on the outside, it's the same thing that's on the outside. You're only as good as your word, and that's what Tyro helps develop men to become men, or a man of their word.
And we also really hit in the Tyro program, the importance of being willing to listen. Listen to the voices around you, listen to the experts around you, listen to your children, listen to your wife or the mother of your children, to really gather as much information as possible before they make any type of decision. And so when we found couple communication, we sound like we're the authors of it, with how much we love it, which we're, thank God we're not, because it's such a wonderful, proven program. But the couples communication really brought even additional skill into the area of being willing to listen. It actually broke down and helped them understand, well, okay, now I know that I'm willing to listen. Now how do I do that? How do I put that in practice, and how do I actually change my behavior so that I am exhibiting healthy behaviors and building a stronger family? And that's where the couple communication came in.
And then owning their percent, or in other words, owning their story. And with Tyro and Couple Communications 1 and 2, able to have the skill to really share their experience, or look at the situation or the issue at their vantage point, but learning how to talk for self and owning their portion or their percent of the experience that they're having. Living for others. We talk about we say often the number one reason why any father would find himself in prison is right there, selfishness. If a real healthy fathers do not find themselves behind bars, healthy fathers don't find themselves in domestic violence situations.
And what we recognize also is that sometimes that selfishness is born out of self-preservation because of the life that they had lived in their childhood and growing up, but they never developed the emotional intelligence and the skills that they needed to really be responsible adults. And so as we really attack that in a healthy way in Tyro Dads, now we give them opportunity to really put it into practice when we introduce them into couple communication. In addition, we also help them move away from the idea of making sacrifice, and we really help them understand the importance of building collaborative relationships with their spouse or with their girlfriends and mother of their children, so that as they work together, as these dads work together with their lifelong partner, that they understand that they are a team and that they are in this together. And they're developing this, as Sharad and Phyllis mentioned earlier, this common operating system. That means they both know what the rules for communication are. They both understand what the skills are, what the styles are, and how to use them appropriately in each situation. Even we especially really like the way that it's a prevention for domestic violence, and also used as an intervention for families that have had domestic violence, because it teaches them to navigate through strong feelings in a healthy way, to be able to convey how they feel in a way that does not harm or hurt the other person.
So breaking the entitlement mentality, again, back to attacking the culture of entitlement. You know, one of the first things that we learn as a tyro, and you walk into this curriculum and you begin to embrace it, and the truth is nobody owes you anything. And that's a hard thing to listen to. You got a room full of grown men, and the ages from 30 on up, and you have to tell them that your best thinking got you here, thinking that somebody owed you. So attacking that culture of entitlement, and then teaching them the skills on how to own their story and how to be able to communicate effectively. Their family, they begin to understand that it's their family was entitled to having a healthy dad, to having a healthy father, a healthy a husband, and they begin to really embrace that type of thinking.
And then that moves us towards our model, again, is the responsible fatherhood, and then the healthy relationship or healthy marriage, and then finally into job ethics training, which is the JET. And so hard work brings a profit. So we've built upon in the tyro and the couple communication that practice makes permanent, that it takes hard work and effort, but it's worth it. Just like it took hard work and effort to learn to walk, it's going to take hard work and effort to learn to do things differently now. And so it really is a great segue into teaching them to be great employees and getting them great jobs. So really briefly, just want to talk a little bit about outcomes. You can find a lot more outcomes on our website and also on Sharad and Phyllis's website for the couple communication. So if you're interested in seeing research, you can go either to theridgeproject.com or to ICP's website. And here's a comparison of before and after the program survey responses from October 2011 through September 2014, and we find that 96% of couple communication participants showed improvement in at least one relationship category, which was pretty amazing. And 95% of the couple communication participants would strongly recommend the course to their friends. So not only are they gaining information, but also hopefulness, and then wanting to give back and share.
What people are saying, this is powerful. In the first quote that we have, I can honestly say that hands down, this is the best class that I have ever taken in my life. And I would like to say thank you for everything.
And another quote here, I can't wait for more programming to come from the Ridge Project so that I can learn more on how to be full of integrity, knowledge, and better communicating. Thank you. And so we literally have pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of comments. And so we had actually asked our IT department if they could just scroll a bunch of these comments on, and they thought that was a terrible idea. They said that nobody's really going to be able to read them, and it'll just look like a bunch of garbled words. So they said they just randomly pulled 4 comments. But it's really incredible the impact that it has on couples and individuals, because there's something else I want to say is, as we're serving dads, only about 25% of the fathers that we serve are actually in a marriage or in a committed relationship. And the couple communication or core communication program are just as effective at increasing skill in parenting and skill in relationships among those men who are not married or not in a current relationship as it is for those that are, which is why we chose it, because it's so versatile.
Great. Thank you so much, Ron and Kathy, to you, Irina, for sharing about the tyro and how it's incorporating couples communication into the suite. So now we're going to go ahead and move forward into questions and answers, and we have a couple here. So this one's for you, Ron and Kathy. Where do you typically hold classes for couples communication?
Well, there's actually a variety of places that we hold them at, mainly in penitentiaries. And one of the things that we're allowed to do here in Ohio, it's amazing with the privileges that we get to do with our relationship with the Department of Corrections here in Ohio. They allow the wives or the significant others to actually go into the prison, and we do about an 8-week course of CC1 and CC2 with them. Now, prior to that, the men go through Tyro programming, and so they become Tyros and really get to understand the true nature of what it means to be a man. And so then when they get to this level of CC1 and CC2, they really begin to stop living for themselves and begin to really start living for others, and in this case, living for their family. And so we have the privilege and honor of working with them inside prisons.
Right. And we also, that's about 75% of our classes are inside of institutions, and 25% of our classes are outside in the community. We provided the classes in faith-based settings on non-grant dollars. We provided them in secular settings over weekends, a weekend retreat, on both grant dollars and then also on non-grant dollars. We've done weekly classes where the couples come together once a week for 2 or 3 hours. So really, another reason why we really like it is because it is so versatile and maintains its effectiveness.
Great. So this next question is for you, Dr. Sherrod and Dr. Phyllis. How many sessions does it take to complete the program?
Well, the program, as designed for Couple Communication 1, has 4 2-hour sessions. Couple Communication 2 has 4 90-minute sessions. These sessions can be expanded to be longer if the instructor chooses to do that, but that's the way that it has been designed.
Thank you. And one more for you guys. Can I use the program for weekend retreats? Can I use the program for a weekly program?
The answer to both is yes. Yes. For instance, on a weekend retreat, if there are 8 hours for Couple Communication 1, and depending on when you start your retreat, you can divide that up nicely for a weekend, as you will. And the second one was
once a week, typically. There are different models, really. Historically, once a week for 4 weeks for Couple Communication 1, so it's a 2-hour session, say every Thursday night or every Wednesday night, whatever. It can also sometimes be taught like Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. Like anything, learning involves practice, and time between sessions is really useful. So if it's a once-a-week situation, people have opportunity to apply the skills in conversations and see what works, what doesn't, and then come back and gain more information and clarification and so forth. But the weekend, sometimes the logistics people can't get together across time, and a weekend can be effective as well.
Great, thank you guys so much. This last question is for you, Ron and Kathy. How does the Tyro digital platform help improve the outcomes of these programs?
That's a great question. As we begin to move into this digital age, we have to be ahead of the game. We have to be able to bring the content to the clients. Not, people don't go to the libraries anymore. They're not going to look for hard copies anymore. So you got to be with what's happening today. You have to be relevant. So as they take a workshop or they're doing a curriculum, a class in a prison setting or even outside setting, the day after, the next day, they have to constantly practice what they're being taught. To be an effective communicator, an effective listener, this is learned behavior. So as they're re-engaging during the week when they're not in the class, they're answering questions. They're being reminded of what they've learned. And so as they answer the questions and as they engage in the Tyro platform, we're able to see them improving or really coming to a place if they don't understand what it is they've learned. We're going to be able to see that and actually send them more content to where they're
this specifically is meeting their needs or the gap in their understanding or their skill gap. We can say, wow, okay, we see here that this dad or this family member or this marriage or this relationship needs these skills. And so it intensifies the case management, but it also makes the case management very relevant to that individual instead of just kind of a blanket, everybody gets the same level of service and the same type of services. So that was a great question.
You know, and I want to just add a portion to that is we're on a constant improvement plan. And so we encourage our tyros that just because the class session is over today doesn't mean that you're done learning. So this is always, you're on a constant improvement plan, constant new content, professional development that will help you get to the next level or to achieve the American dream.
All right.
One of the things, if I could just jump in, this Sherrod again,
Yep.
it's an exciting time to be alive from the standpoint of education being high touch and high tech, and participating in a class, getting the coaching, moving around on mats, discussions, all that sort of thing can't really be done over the internet very effectively, but they have a live high touch experience, and then the high tech comes in and extends, reinforces, applies, clarifies, and it's an exciting model.
All right, we have time for one more question, and this one's for you, Phyllis. How do these programs differ from others, and what advantages do these communications have?
Well, the answer to how they differ from others, it depends on what other programs you have, but I would say one thing that's very important is that we have multiple learning modes and models here, modalities. With the mats, that's one thing. The other thing I think in differing from others is we don't provide the content of the issues. The people themselves bring their own issues there. And my understanding is what this does is engages people much more because it's real to them. So these are a couple of things that make this program very different. It's not around certain types of topics or that kind of thing. It's around what's of importance to them and gaining their own kind of skill in this development and developing that. And so I think this is part of the emphasis, I think, is different from other programs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that is all the time we have for questions. So thank you so much, Dr. Sherrod and Phyllis, for being with us today, and thank you to Ron and Kathy Tiarina as well. Really great stuff. I'm excited, and I just want to share with everyone about the next webinar that is next week on April 14th at 1:30, same time as today. And the presenters for that are going to be Ron and Catherine Tiarina, Dr. Jeff Frey, and the Glue team. We're going to be talking about TyroJet, and then also kind of just the next steps and pulling it all together and what you will need. To register, just visit theridgeproject.com and click the link in the middle of the homepage. It is now open for registration, so I encourage you to jump on board so that way you won't miss next week. And this webinar from today is actually recorded, and you can also find that at theridgeproject.com and click the link in the middle of the homepage. And if you have any questions or comments or would like to get some more information, you can also contact us. Contact Tim Snoke, Director of Development. His phone number is 419-278-0092. And thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll see you guys next week.